You are listening to The Author's Message with Denise Joy and Irene Pro for lively discussions and guest interviews on authors, publishers, readers, and of course our listeners. Join us every Saturday at 10 a.m. Eastern on Global Voice Radio. Here are your hosts, Denise Joy and Irene Pro. I want to welcome all of our listeners to another episode of The Author's Message. I'm Denise Joy Thompson, and my co-host is Irene Pro. And our guest today is Shequita Lee. And I'm really excited to be talking with Shequita today because we have known each other for several years. We were actually in an anthology together, and we'll talk more about that during the show. But first of all, for our listeners, I want to do a short introduction. And Shequita is a speaker, author, and social media coach. She is the owner and founder of SL Media. Shequita believes that life is too short, so enjoy the journey and wherever it may take you. Shequita started on social media in 2009, and like most people, she was very intrigued. In 2013, she used social media to grow her small business and her team. And since then, she has been teaching and coaching small business owners to become savvy on social media. She is also an inspirational speaker, speaking on several platforms, live events, and even on numerous podcasts. Her primary objective is to share tips and hacks of social media, help entrepreneurs, coaches, and aspiring authors successfully navigate through the means of social media. Well, thank you very much for joining us today on The Author's Message on Global Voice Radio. And one of the things that Irene and I are doing through our show, The Author's Message, is that we're talking about all things in regards to words, authors, publishing, books, even the meaning of language itself, the meaning of different words. Mm-hmm. So in March, we wanted to feature and showcase women authors because Women's History Month and International Women's Day is recognized and celebrated in March. So to start off, talk a little bit about becoming an author for the first time.
Ooh, becoming an author for the first time was like, I think I asked, like, can I really write a book? Like most people, I figured I would not be able to write a full book. So I put it off saying I will never write a book. And we all know what happens when you say never. It happens. So it was very exciting. I was excited. I put it everywhere. I told everybody, probably stopped people in the grocery store too and told them about it. So I probably seemed very weird running from the lady in the grocery store. But I was excited. I mean, it was just like an experience that I did not know where it would take me and what I would do about it. But it's been going very great for me so far.
So tell me, when did you write your first book?
I actually have been journaling for a very long time. I actually started writing, me and a friend in middle school and high school, we started writing plots to the movie Dynasty. It was like a TV series. And we decided that we were going to write to ABC and tell ABC we had better plots, better endings for these storylines. And I was Dominique and he was Alexis. So we were into it. So I've been doing that for a while. And then I started journaling after we figured out that we were not going to get any type of introduction to ABC, and they weren't going to take us seriously.
So I applaud you because we all watched that show growing up. So I definitely applaud you on that.
Yes, I loved it. So from there, I continued to journal about numerous things. And it wasn't until I got into a group on Facebook that they were doing the first anthology, and they were celebrating this month, actually, probably about 2014. They were celebrating a book coming out, and I, applauded the women and definitely supported them, brought the book, brought the ebook. And it was Denise who reached out to me that said, hey, would you be interested in doing an anthology? And I'm like, no. No. And then she's like, it's not the whole book, it's just a chapter. And then I was like, oh, well, yeah, I could do a chapter. I could do that. And that's how we became in the same book, just from supporting and going out there and supporting other women for Women's Month.
Now, was that book Chocolates and Diamonds?
No, it was called something else. The first anthology was called something else. The book that me and Denise were in together is called Chocolate and Diamonds.
Yeah, I know. That's how I know all of you, is from Chocolate and Diamonds.
Yes.
Yeah. So the first book was Empowered Women of Social Media.
Yes.
Creating Global Communities. I'm not even sure of the subtitle.
Right.
So so we were celebrating that book because it was launched in March and in honor of International Women's Day. And so I guess that was our initial connection, was through that book. And then you being a part of the first Chocolate and Diamonds.
Yep.
And in some ways it is so interesting. And Irene Pro has met most of the authors through those anthologies also. And so it's interesting how when you're connecting with women who also are writing, or in some ways, you mentioned the word journey, right? That life is short, so enjoy the journey. And that's sort of what those chapters were.
Right.
It was part of our journey to start opening ourselves up and to really release a lot of things. And that's what a lot of authors do. They write about their pain. They write about their story.
Right.
And so then once you joined the anthology, what did that do for you? What did that create for you?
I was fearful first, because I was like, what am I going to write about? Like, I was panicking, like, oh my God. And it seemed like weeks just kept coming by quickly. And I'm like, what will I write about? What do I want to share? How can I share it? Am I comfortable to share it? Because I already knew once this happened, people are going to read books. Your family's going to read books. Your friends going to read the book. So I needed to figure out what I wanted to share. And I decided to share about a bad major car accident that I was in, that, crazy enough, a lot of people didn't know about it until I wrote about it in the book, because I didn't talk about it because I had gotten over all of the anxiety and fearfulness that I had about the accident. So a lot of people I didn't even know, best friends, I didn't even know. And I'm like, sorry, sorry.
So, Irene is a publisher, and she has helped many women to write about their stories, has helped them to develop. And so, Irene, what is something that you see in the women as they're going through the process? What do you see is one of the things that they learn about the most?
I think they learn about the most is their community, about the other co-authors. But what they learn on a different hand is their voice, actually having their voice come to the surface and hearing their voice for the first time, believe it or not. And, we talk about mess so many times, Denise and I, and that's the whole purpose we opened the show was because so many young authors today, or somebody writing for the first time today, has the hardest time or has the best time expressing themselves. And when it comes to someone like me or another publisher, another editor who edits this, my job as a publisher for each individual story not to lose that author's voice.
Right.
And so when I did read, okay, because I was a big part of you guys, because I was helping promote and everybody was in the publication. And listening and reading your stories, it was like an emotional roller coaster, because I got the rough draft, literally the rough draft. It wasn't proofed yet, and you could hear everybody's voices. And that's very, very important, especially for a first-time writer, to know that working with an author or working on an anthology, that there's structure and there's it's okay to be vulnerable. That's the key. It's really okay to be vulnerable, because you're in a community and your compiler is there to help you get your voice out and be heard.
Right.
So, Shequita, for you then, what was the voice that you found or that you discovered by being in that first book?
I think the voice that I found was that I did have a voice. Sometimes as a mom, a wife, sister, auntie, you're caring for everybody else, that you don't think about yourself as much as you should, and you don't put yourself forward as much as you should. It wasn't until I did the book that other people reached out to me and was like, I understand, someone was in that situation before. I would have never guessed it. You look so poised or what have you. And it's not what's on the outside, it's what's on the inside. And many times we don't share what's going on the inside, or what has happened to us, because it's happened, so long ago that we just push it to the side and keep on rolling on. So I found my voice. Now I don't really be quiet.
So, and that's a good thing though. But now you're comfortable in your journey. You're comfortable in your words.
Yes.
And you're easy. It's easier for you to express yourself.
Definitely.
A lot easier.
Yes.
Because you found your soundboard. That's the only way I can describe it. You found where you belong.
Yes, exactly.
Now, I know in the beginning when Denise was going over your long bio, some things were missed, because you are highlighted for us for the magazines, but you've won some amazing awards because of your voice.
Yes.
So, and this isn't the first award you have won because of your voice.
No.
So explain to us what happened. How did it all started? And oh my God, because I was one of your biggest supporters in that through your this journey.
Yes. So what happens is, after we wrote the first chapter, I started thinking, like, probably before the book was released, like, oh my God, I'm gonna have to talk out, I'm gonna meet Oprah. I'm a big dreamer. Okay. I already knew I was gonna meet Oprah. When I didn't know, but I said, let me go and learn how to speak calmly, slowly, not so fast, and clearly, so that everybody can understand. So I decided to join Toastmaster. And once I joined, I, of course, as always, all people, I'm not really a person that speaks in front of people, but I'm comfortable speaking in front of people because I've been doing it for a long time. And I'm like, I was the nerd in school. I sat in the front, which means you got called on first.
Yeah.
So having presentations, speaking, doing orientations for work, I'm comfortable with it. So doing that, they said, okay, you are a storyteller. You go through the process of explaining things very well. So you're a storyteller type of a speaker. Okay, cool. So I'm going along the journey. The club decides to have contests, and they do this with Toastmaster. And it's to help people along, get these awards, something to make you feel great about yourself along this journey of being a speaker. So I'm like, okay, I can do this. So I won my club and I came in first place. And then I went to the area and I came in second place. Of course, I was totally shocked that I came in second place. Not to say that I should have came in first place, because I was getting the heavy hitters, but I was surprised I got placed because someone who I thought was better than me came in behind me. But it was because of the story that I told and the intrigue that people were intrigued in the story. So I kept doing it. So I have an award for that. And then, of course, you go about your day, you go about your journey, and I get in the mail that I've been nominated for an author award. And I'm like, well, who nominated me? And I heard of the company before, the nonprofit that's women owned, but I didn't know who would have nominated me. And everybody I asked had no idea. Like, I don't think they were going to tell me if they did nominate me. So once I got there, I'm thinking, I'm helping, us women nurturers, we help. So they said, we need people to help set up the awards on the table. So I said, okay, so I'm not going to get an award. They're not going to have me help set up the awards on the table. If I'm getting an award, I would be in the audience, doing something else. And lo and behold, I'm in the audience. And they call my name and I'm like, wait a minute, did they just say Shequita Lee? So they said it a second time and I'm like, oh my God, they just said my name. So I never saw my name on the paper because I didn't have the paper. I actually was just arranging the awards. I did initially have the paper, but I gave it to someone else and I just arranged the awards. So I was totally shocked because Author of the Year was, you get out here, you do your thing. You don't really think people are paying attention, but they actually are paying attention. And I knew of the nonprofit because one of my friends was nominated a couple of years ago. So I was super excited to get that. So besides Toastmaster, I got Author of the Year for 2017.
And that's, I'm humbled and honored to have you on our show as well.
Thank you.
And after that, so many doors have opened up for you because
Yes.
of that. It's an honor, and you also are being recognized because of that badge.
Mm-hmm.
And that brought your self-confidence and your words to a totally different outlook and voice.
Right.
So how many, because I know you help a lot of people, not just women, a lot of people, bring their voice to paper, to pen. And through social media, through pretty much a lot of different channels out there.
Yes.
And I'm sure that's grown for you tremendously.
It has.
As well.
It has.
But you also won another award. So you just didn't win one award. You won quite a few awards.
No, those are the awards. I mean, the Toastmasters is the award, and then the Author of the Year is the award. I was nominated for another author award in
2016. Yeah.
Yeah. But I didn't win that, but I was nominated. I
thought you won a category. You walked away with, you won a certain category.
Not for them, not for the one in Baltimore. Yeah, that one was, I think it was devotional. And I don't think I entered for Anthology of the Year, but it was Devotional of the Year that I was entered in.
I thought it was, yeah. Because I know you and a few other women were up for that.
Yes, we all were.
And it
everybody
was
from Chocolate and Diamonds.
Yes, and it was amazing.
Yes.
So I had all wonderful authors there. And again, these are other women that I met, Denise, through your book, Chocolates and Diamonds. Okay. So Chocolates and Diamonds opened up a lot of voices.
I agree.
One of the things that I have seen by women coming together and sharing their voice in the same book, it does create relationships. It does create a certain level of energy. And, you know, as we were talking before, it allows women an opportunity to write about something, to share part of their journey, to share their voice that they hadn't had an opportunity to do.
Right.
And hopefully through that process, which is a supportive process, you know, that we know what can we do next. It allows us a success, and then we can go even further.
Right.
So, Shequita, you were in another anthology, and one of the things that you had written about in Women Innovators, Leaders, Makers, and Givers, you were in that book, and we were just talking about that earlier. And because you like social media, or you love social media, you provide guidance to authors.
Yes.
And so one of the things that you had mentioned to me about the chapter that you had done, that's called The Magic of Social Engagement, is that you tell authors to get out there, right? To network, to share their book.
Yes.
Now, what are some of the reasons that an author would want to continue to share their book once it's published and it might be on their website, but you want authors to go a step further?
Yeah, they should be big dreamers. You know, you wrote the book, you put your blood, sweat, and tears into it. You know, you want to be able to continue to receive compensation for your book. You want to get it into people's hands. You want to change lives. Why not dream big and think about making a movie of it? There are people that take their book and make screenplays. There are people that have their book picked up by these big, you know, cinemas. I mean, you have The Astronaut that was picked up. You have so many movies that are picked up, and these people, they make the books, you know, you don't think too much of it, but whoever reads it may say, you know what, we need to make a movie out of this. We need to make a movie out of this. So I follow several people on social media that started out with their book, and they started funding their own dream and doing a screenplay or a stage play, going to Colorado, and they have made it happen for them. So if no one knocks on the door, you have to, you know, build your own door, do it yourself. So I think that a lot of people get comfortable, you know, oh, well, I just wrote a book. And a lot of people I know wrote books and I didn't even know they were authors. I'm like, how come you don't? They're like, oh, I'm not interested in it. Okay. You never know. That book could be in someone's school, you know, it could be a teaching program. That's important too. So, but they forget about those things.
You know, and sometimes we don't know why someone has taken the time to be vulnerable, to share their voice, and then not going anywhere further. I mean, we don't know why that happens. It could be how is their story received. When we don't receive support for something, then sometimes we take that step back and we go back into hiding. But I think one of the things that you are showing and modeling for other women is to keep going, to keep sharing, to keep having that voice. You know, one of the things that we know that occurs in March when we talk about Women's History Month and International Women's Day, we want women to have a voice. That's how we create change.
Yes.
And so, I mean, if we all think about books that we have read that have inspired and motivated us, what if we didn't have those books? What if those voices had not been shared?
Exactly. Exactly.
So tell me about your solo book. Let's talk about that.
That is, those words, thoughts, and inspiration were taken from my journal that I've had for a very long time. The book is actually called Relax, Unwind, and Soar in 22 Days. And it's a short devotional. It's inspiration, thought-provoking. You can sit down with the book. You can read it on, you know, your lunch break. You can go to the park. You can read it on an airplane. But it's something just to get you to thinking about a variety of things. And like I said, I've had it for a while. I never, ever, ever thought about making it into a book until someone mentioned, like, okay, you journal, right? I'm like, of course I do. Well, why can't that be a book? And I'm like, oh, okay. So I had to look to see what am I comfortable putting into a book for a chapter. And I actually had more, but I said 22, I'm going to stop at 22 because everybody's like, what's the significance of 22? I'm like, I don't have a significance for the number 22, but that was just comfortable for me to say, this is what it is. 22 days, you got the rest of the month to relax, if you need to, and just take a break and not focus on reading so much. So it's not a heavy reading. It's not heavy reading material. It's very laid back, relaxed, thought-provoking, and inspirational. So I was very excited about that. Once I had the title, I then thought of the design of the cover, and I reached out to someone to do it for me, and I told him exactly what I wanted. I found the pictures of the flowers that I wanted. I told him, when I tell you he hit it on the nose, he hit it on the nose the very first time, came back to me and was like, you have any changes? I said, absolutely not. I love it. You listened to exactly what I said, and we are good to go. And he was like, you are the simplest person that I've ever met in my entire life, because usually you go back and forth with people. I said, no. He gave me exactly what I want. And I'm not difficult, but I knew exactly what I wanted, and he hit it right on the nose. So I was very happy with it. And I know that the cover is what grabs people. Besides what the title says, they pick up the cover because the cover interests them if it definitely makes it stand out. So I think it stands out tremendously. It's pretty colors that I like. And I think they're really spring, flowers and colors that stand out. So I love the cover, and I think it goes well with what the title is and what the book is about.
Yeah, I have to agree that the cover is very important.
Yes.
Because it's like a palette to your senses,
Mm-hmm.
your eyes. Today we look at things differently. We're looking all around us, besides right to left, or we're, up and down. And
Yeah.
it's very important for that cover to be inspiring for your
Mm-hmm.
audience.
Well, and Shequita, as you were talking about your cover, what you wanted, you had an emotional attachment
Mm-hmm.
to your
I
cover.
did. Yes.
And I know in creating or sharing my vision of covers with people,
Mm-hmm.
it is emotional.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard to, sometimes let go of, can I actually have exactly what I want?
Right.
And
Mm-hmm.
why do we want it? In my first compilation, and the cover had a specific meaning
Mm-hmm.
to me after my father had passed away, and so it was very emotional going through that process. And then Irene created the cover for Live in Gratitude Daily.
Mm-hmm.
Again, it was a very emotional connection to the colors and what I wanted, the emotion, the feeling, the motivation, inspiration to come out.
Right.
And, and it's an art. So somebody's trying to create it, who they are creators, they are artists. And then we, as the author, as knowing what is in our heart, we're trying to share that. So the fact that you were able to share it so well with your cover creator, your designer, is astounding.
Yeah, it is because I do design a lot of covers for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the covers I do get have nothing to do with the book inside.
Oh, wow.
Oh, no, that's fact. That's fact. There's a lot of covers out there that have nothing to do with what's inside.
Oh, wow.
And you'll be surprised. and usually what I do is I want to listen to what the author wants.
Mm-hmm.
And normally I ask for 3 chapters of your book.
Mm-hmm.
Let me read the 3 chapters of your book, and I create something else.
Mm-hmm.
And usually what happens is, for me reading it, and also now looking at it as a viewer reading your book, okay? I take those images and create something that the author had no idea.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not, because I'm reading something that's emotional as the viewer,
Mm-hmm.
as well as the publisher, or I should say editor at that point. And I
Yeah.
usually say, don't worry if it's not edited yet. Give it to me. Let me read it.
Yeah. That
And
makes sense, though.
yeah. And I do that before we take on any book.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I request 3 chapters before I even want to take your book, because I don't take everyone's book out there. It has to. We take different books, different uniques, different voices.
Mm-hmm.
So, but we will lay it out. We will design it for them inside, or normally it's, can you create me a cover? Sure. Tell me a little bit about the story, what you're envisioning,
Mm-hmm.
and I send 5 proofs.
Okay.
So that's what we do.
That's pretty.
When we were designing the cover for Live in Gratitude Daily, and that's 465 pages of Living in Gratitude Daily. And, you know, she took me on a journey with her book before one word was even written.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, how do you feel about that? What colors are you looking for? What makes that journey? And it's very hard to, and I thought she landed it perfectly when Living in Gratitude. So
Yeah.
when you were talking about flowers, certain flowers makes you relax.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't care who you are, man, female, you know, flowers are beautiful.
Yes.
And I don't, unless somebody's highly allergic to them and they associate that. But it is a journey. It is very frustrating. But I applaud you for communicating very well to your artist, because normally I'll get, well, I don't know, you create it.
Yeah. No.
and that's what it's like. Oh, okay. And that's very, very difficult as an artist, as a publisher.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, well, okay, here we go. Send me your chapters.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
So what about the publishing process for you? Because you were in books that were compiled by others, so they're sort of responsible for the editing, for the publishing. But when it came to your book, how was that process for you?
Oh, man. I stayed up late nights. I actually had the editor edit my book, and one of the perks of it was to upload it onto KDP. But the other part I still had to do, because of course you got to pick your categories. And I'm like, what? Although I had them written out, it seemed like when I had them written out and I went to go pick from them, I'm like, am I in the right category? Because when you drill down, it seems like it's more. And I'm like, is this the right category? So I had a friend who I probably called twice at like 11. Like, are you up? To help me just like pick and make sure. But it was crazy. It was crazy. Even picking the KDP Select, I picked that, and she's like, no, you shouldn't have picked it. And I'm like, what? I already picked it. I got to stay with it now. It was driving me crazy.
Well, here's the thing with KDP Collect. I'm sorry, I think I have a little interference because we've been without power for a couple weeks here due to the storm. So that is a challenge, okay?
Yeah.
Because a lot of people don't understand that at all. So when I bring my author on KDP and even Creative Space, and even if I'm dealing with Lightning Source, okay,
Mm-hmm.
and a few other locations, I walk them through that and I explain to them why they don't want that.
Yeah.
Okay. It's got a great little package. It has all these great little, nooks and
Mm-hmm.
crannies.
Mm-hmm.
But what you don't realize, you don't own the copyright.
Mm-mm. Yeah.
You don't own that copyright.
No.
You'll own it after 3 to 5 years,
Yeah. Yeah.
but you really don't own that copyright. Plus, you get a less commission base.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And
there are some benefits to it that sometimes authors want to have.
Yeah.
And also sometimes, if that happens with the first book, an author can also go with a certain percentage of revision or
Mm-hmm.
tweak of the title, then you can recreate the book.
Right. Yeah.
But you have to be careful with that, because if it's too similar and it's in your account, KDP will let you know.
Correct. But there are, once you talk to a copyright lawyer or once you read more about it, there are certain things that an author can do. In case there's some authors who are listening to our show and have chosen that option, we don't want them to think that it's the end of the world.
No, it's not the end of the world.
Right.
It's just, I shoot from the hip, so I do apologize, everybody. I really do. Maybe I should a little more etiquette on my part, but my job is to inform and educate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, correct. So there's, in some ways, with a lot of things in life, even with death, right? Because we believe in the afterlife or we really wanted to get to heaven, that is not the end of our journey.
Correct.
Right.
I think also authors find out that sometimes, what they thought would happen with a compiler or a publisher or Create Space. I've had difficulties myself in choosing categories, and you choose a category and then you're looking on Amazon. It's like, that's not what I chose. What happened?
Yeah.
Or, well, any changes you need to make, this will take 48, 72 hours. And you're having a launch and you're like, I don't have that amount of time. I've already seen my books available.
Yeah.
So those things happen.
Mm-hmm.
And it's understanding, it's not the end of the world, and take a deep breath and things will work out. But I have found Create Space, when you call them, not so much KDP per se, but I've called Create Space. And the more I call and have these great conversations about what's happening and what can be changed, they have been more responsive.
Yeah, they are. They
So,
are.
with your solo book and, promoting that authors use social media, so what kinds of things did you do to prepare for your launch and during your launch in regards to marketing yourself, marketing the book?
I still do the same thing. Nothing changes, but I have photos of the book. I do live videos of the book. I put myself out there, doing similar things, podcasts, any type of engagement that I can do where I'm out there. You get pictures of my book, pictures of me live streaming. I am doing it. Once it's actually set to launch, I'm at, actually, I think before I even launched, I signed up for a vendor event. And they said, as long as you have your books, you can come. So I signed up for a vendor event. I become vendors at just events that I think it would go well with. A lot of church events as well. And of course, putting myself out there with book events, signing up for the library. The local libraries have like author talks, or they call it author showcases. And they kind of skim through your book to see if it's suitable for the general public. So I've done that as well.
Coffee shop.
What'd you call?
And coffee shops is the new hot thing.
Yes, yes. That will be well, I'll be celebrating with someone this Sunday. But I will go with someone on Sunday so I can talk to her, which she's a big supporter because she actually provided the chocolate for my first book launch with Chocolate and Diamonds. She brought the chocolate for that.
Oh, I'm coming.
So it was so nice of her. Now she has her own shop, so I want to do it at her shop as well. But anything that I can do, I have been there with my book in hand, in purse, in my trunk. I am everywhere. Because if no one knows you're an author and you have a book, like you can talk about it all you want, but if you can't show, although some people do like digital, they still want to be able to see something and be able to, go to your website or Amazon and pick it up.
It's nice I like a book, just like a lot of people more and more want a magazine in their hand.
Yeah.
I like the book because I love the smell, the touch. It's tangible. It's mine.
Yep.
And you can really curl up with a book. You can curl up with a Kindle, but it's not comfortable.
It is not. And it kills the battery on whatever it is that you're using to read.
And it's just great because you can, you have a library on there, but but you said something very important. No matter where you are, you carry your books with you. And I think a lot of authors today don't do that.
They don't.
Well,
and
I sort of thought about living gratitude daily. It's over 2 pounds. So I don't carry a lot of those with me.
Yeah. No, well, in that case, you can just keep it in your trunk. That's all. And your car.
Right. And it stands out because it's 7 by 10. It's not your normal 5 by 8 or 5 3/8 by 8 7/8, or I'm not exactly sure on that, or 6 by 9.
Right.
But yes, it is a big book, and I would carry it.
With a big purse.
Right. With I do carry a purse inside of a purse inside of a purse. So I am the bag lady. But
that's a very good idea and a very good point. You never know as an author, who are you going to meet? And actually, I think it was last summer, I was somewhere in Texas touring. And I went to a winery, and I actually did have an extra book or two in my car. And the person I was talking to, there was such a connection, the energy, the vibration, and it was just like the book fit. Because not everybody is going to want a book about gratitude, depending on their perspective, their outlook. And so somewhere I need to look, I have a photo of him and I'm giving him the book in the winery, which... gratitude is mentioned in the Bible, and it talks about wine, so I think it's a book about gratitude in a winery. But it fit, and I happen to have one, because I don't always have them in my car. I need to remember to do that. That's a great point.
Well, in my cars, depending on which car, because I have teenagers, I have a box, but I don't carry the full magazine. It's a 6 by 9, and it has all the magazines in one, but it's snippets of all the magazines. So for me, and I have one page of all our books that I've published. So at the same time, I am helping and promoting the author and the author's message. So for me, that's a great thing to do. So even something to think about with if you are have more than one book, I always run out of business cards, and I'll be the first to tell you. And I'm always without a business card the last couple of events I went to because I ran out. But I use this now as my business card. So.
Well, and I think one of the things that we've been talking about is, as an author, we've taken the time, the energy, we've gotten past our fear of sharing about ourselves. So I think that you had made a very good point earlier about, as an author, always having our book, having our business cards, having something available. Because one of the things is there could be a sense of fear sometimes once we've opened ourselves up and we're vulnerable. And we almost might want to avoid, because what are people going to say? What will they think about what we've written? And do we really want to continue to share it? But what have you seen, Shequita, in talking to women who have become authors and sharing parts of their journey? What have you seen what has that done for them?
I think it's helped them out tremendously, because one of the things that they thought, like you said, is how will people perceive the book? What will they say? Will they want to read it? A lot of stories are our stories. It's just a different face, different people, but very similar in situations. Not exactly always the same, but very similar. So I've found a lot more people are willing to share their stories, and they're out there. They're comfortable with vendor events. Like, even though they're shy, they don't want to do any, live streams, but they're comfortable with vendor events because they meet the person face to face. And they can talk about their book and feel comfortable about their book. And you kind of get someone's energy if they're like really receptive to your book, or just, passing by, just saying, hey, eating on your candy. But other people, they definitely enjoy the vendor events. They're not so, they're overwhelmed with social media. So they think, oh my God, I got to be on here all day, 24 hours a day. And it's like, no, you really don't. But you want to kind of reach people that are not close to you. You want to get the global audience. And you never know when someone in China or Canada may pick up your book and ask you to come out there, or can you send like a stack for their reading group? So I always tell people that, and they're receptive to it, and they want to be able to do it, but they're more comfortable, like kind of just in their circle for now, until they get like a little bit more reassurance. And that's what I kind of help people with sometimes, like, just, go ahead and do it. It is your story. It is how you felt. You just never know when it may touch someone or help someone that thought, oh my God, this is me. And that happens when you pick up someone's book, like, that was me. I remember that. Yeah. So people are getting out there a lot more now than ever with the help of social media. Before, not so much, but now, oh, definitely, they're out there.
Well, I think I have to agree with you on that. And I think a lot of it has to do with we have a lot more platforms and channels to help all of us get our voices, not just read, but seen and heard.
Yes. Yes, I would agree.
So as we wrap up our show for today, I think it could help our listeners, for each of us, in our experience of being an author, compiling, Irene as a publisher. What is one tip that each of us can leave with our listeners in regards to sharing part of their story?
One tip that I would say is, never fear, after you've written your book, never fear that someone will dislike your book. Don't put it in their hands. This is your story. This is your voice. You have to tell it. Whether they gravitate to it or not everyone's going to like it, but never stop, sharing your story. Never stop telling people what you feel is on your heart, because you never know how it may touch someone. So don't dim your light just so someone else can shine a little brighter.
Great. That's beautiful.
Irene, do you have a tip? Well, I know that you have a lot of tips.
Well, yes, you can call me at 11 o'clock at night. I've had people call me at 3 o'clock in the morning,
Oh my
Denise,
gosh.
and yes, and believe me, I'm up. I'm the night owl. I think that you pretty much summed it all up for me. I'm kind of now lost for words. So, a first, thank you.
Yes. So, I mean, Shequita, your tip really is the cake, the icing, the whipped cream and cherry on top.
This is good.
You know, one of the things I was going to say is, yes, write. Just start writing, and you don't have to be, it doesn't have to be perfect the first time.
No.
Someone writing is the way to begin.
Mm-hmm.
So, Shequita, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
With Irene and I on the Author's Message on Global Voice Radio. And one last thing, if our listeners want to contact you, what is the best way for them to do that?
You guys can reach any listeners, any viewers. If you like to connect with me, you can connect with me on, I would say, connect with me on my website. And then from there, you can reach out to me through email. But my website is www.bit.ly/SL Media LLC.
So we will also be posting Shequita's website when we post the link to listen to the Author's Message with Denise Joy Thompson and Irene Crow on Global Voice Radio. And thank you very much, Shequita, for being our guest.
Thank you for having me.
You are listening to the Author's Message with Denise Joy and Irene Pro for lively discussions and guest interviews on authors, publishers, readers, and of course our listeners. Join us every Saturday at 10 a.m. Eastern on Global Voice Radio.